My name is Emma Thompson. And what's your name? Tinjebwa Agaba. Yes. And we are mother and son. Indy didn't come from my body. Not by blood. That single word, son, changed everything. In 2003, at the peak of her fame, one chance meeting quietly redirected her whole life's paths with Tinjebwa Agaba, a teenage refugee from Rwanda who carried inside him the unbearable weight of war, loss, and the shadow of genocide. Why would a celebrated star open her home to a broken stranger? And how did one quiet bond reshape two lives forever? Understand that choice. We have to return to where it all began, with Emma's own story. She was born on April 15th, 1959, grew up in Hammersmith, London, in a home overflowing with books, art, and imagination. Her father was Eric Thompson. He was a beloved actor and storyteller. Her mother, Phillida Law, was an actress too. From her earliest years, Emma belonged to that world. She was raised among words, characters, and the magic of performance. In 1977, she earned her place at Newnham College, Cambridge. There she studied English literature and joined the legendary Footlights comedy troupe, sharing the stage with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. She and Hugh Laurie even shared a quiet romance during those electric college years, long before fame found any of them. By 1981, she rose to vice president of Footlights and helped the troupe seize the prestigious Perrier Award at the Edinburgh Fringe. Triumph and tragedy arrived together. In that same season, her father died. She would later call it the loss that tore her family apart. Eric had been the gentle, creative heart of her childhood, the one who filled every quiet room with stories. An absence carved a hole nothing could fill. Emma later confessed something startling about that grief and her own ambition. Had her father lived longer, she said, she might never have found the desperate courage to push herself so hard. Hidden sorrow quietly shaped the actress she became, restrained, deeply interior, able to pour out enormous pain without ever raising her voice. After leaving Cambridge in 1982, her career began without fanfare. Slow, patient, and steady. There were no overnight miracles waiting for her. Small parts in radio plays, television, and West End theater, paying her dues like countless hopeful young actors before her. Then came 1987, the year that quietly cracked her whole life wide open and changed everything. That year she delivered 2 breakthrough performances on British television. The first was Fortunes of War, a prestigious BBC adaptation. In it, she played a sharp, complicated woman caught between love and the chaos of war. Then arrived Tutti Frutti, something entirely different. It was a raw, vibrant drama about a fading rock band. Her performance crackled with such wit and aching vulnerability that audiences couldn't look away. She won her very first BAFTA. In that instant, the industry stopped seeing a promising newcomer and started seeing something far bigger. They saw a major talent. That same year, 1987, she fell into a relationship with fellow actor Kenneth Branagh. Their connection was instant, educational scholarships. Their romance quickly became one of the most talked-about partnerships in British theatre and film. They seemed unstoppable, the world. They looked flawless, brilliant, ambitious, and helplessly in love. In 1989, They married in a small, quiet ceremony. Day on, their lives and careers wound tightly together. They worked side by side, on stage and on screen. And slowly the public began to see Emma only as Kenneth Branagh's wife. But she refused to disappear. She was determined to define herself entirely on her own terms. The early 1990s would prove it. Those years brought her explosive international fame. In 1992, she gave what many still call one of the greatest performances of her career. Played Margaret Schlegel in Howard's End, directed by James Ivory and starring alongside the great Anthony Hopkins. It was a role that demanded everything she had to give. Margaret was a woman of quiet intelligence, deep moral strength, and an enormous, tender heart. She felt every emotion intensely, yet almost never let it show. In Chatter, Emma refused to lean on loud, theatrical gestures. Instead, she worked through restraint, a flicker of the eyes, a held breath, a carefully measured silence that said everything. Nothing more than stillness and silence. She somehow conveyed an entire ocean of feeling. That quiet performance earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. In that single moment, she finally stepped out from her husband's shadow and became a star entirely in her own right. 1 year later, in 1993, she achieved something almost unheard of in Hollywood. 2 Oscar nominations in a single year. She earned a Best Actress nod for The Remains of the Day and a Best Supporting Actress nod for In the Name of the Father. Roles. Both roles revealed the signature style she was perfecting. Women carrying immense private pain while staying perfectly composed on the surface. In The Remains of the Day, she played a housekeeper whose quiet, aching love could never once be spoken aloud. It was a love left forever unfinished. In the Name of the Father, she became a fierce, passionate lawyer, relentlessly for justice on screen. That double nomination wasn't just a career high point. It was undeniable proof of something. Emma Thompson had become one of the finest dramatic actresses of her entire generation. By the mid-1990s, she was untouchable. Her career had climbed to its absolute peak. In 1995, she took on a project that would define her. It would forever tie her name to literary brilliance. She wrote the screenplay herself and starred as Eleanor Dashwood in Sense and Sensibility. Jane Austen's beloved novel was a terrifying challenge for anyone. Yet, Emma's script came out sharp, witty, and quietly devastating. It rang painfully true. Her performance as the sensible, self-sacrificing elder sister was layered with quiet strength and a deep, hidden longing. The film became both a critical triumph and a box office hit. And when the Academy Awards arrived, Emma made history. She made history as the only person ever to win Academy Awards for both acting and screenwriting, a feat no one else had ever achieved. It was a milestone no one had ever managed before, and yet at that very moment, her glory hid a secret. Emma stood at the dazzling height of her career and the lowest point of her private life. Her marriage to Branagh was dying. The golden couple of British theatre was quietly falling apart. The strain of working together endlessly had slowly poisoned them. Relentless public scrutiny only deepened the wound. What no one yet knew was that Kenneth had already begun something unforgivable. An affair with actress Helena Bonham Carter. When the truth finally surfaced, it completely shattered Emma Narens. And this betrayal wasn't only private, it was brutally public. The flawless partnership the world had admired for years was suddenly exposed as a lie, and Emma sank into a deep, suffocating depression. She later admitted, the pain grew so heavy she could barely function. Years later, in one of her most painfully honest confessions, she revealed a secret hidden inside one of her most famous scenes. In Love, Actually, released in 2003, her character opens a Christmas present, realizes her husband has betrayed her, and steps quietly into the bedroom to break the tearpool. Then she wipes her tears, straightens her face, and returns to the party as if nothing happened. That moment was real, Todd. She didn't have to act that heartbreak. She only had to remember it. But even inside that darkness, something tender was beginning. Back during the filming of Sense and Sensibility, Emma had met an actor named Greg Wise, who played the charming John Willoughby. On-screen he was charmant but unreliable. Off-screen, their bond began as purely professional. Yet Greg was kind, grounded, and quietly steady. He carried a gentle humor that slowly reached through Emma's pain. After her separation from Kenneth, Greg quietly stayed close. He never tried to fix her or rush her healing. He simply listened, stayed near, and gave her room to slowly breathe again. And here's the twist nobody expected. Greg had originally been drawn to Kate Winslet, who played Marianne, and he turned to Emma for help. He asked Emma to introduce him to Kate. With her famous dry wit, she agreed. But Kate gently turned him down. And so, instead, fate shifted. Emma and Greg quietly drifted toward each other. What began as gentle friendship slowly, almost secretly, blossomed into love. Greg became the steady anchor she so desperately needed during the most broken chapter of her entire life. Those closest to them often said it simply, he didn't just fall in love with her. He pulled her back from the edge. Then, in 1999, Emma gave birth to their daughter Gaia. Arrival of her first child changed absolutely everything. Didn't see him. At the very height of her fame and earning power, she made a choice that stunned Hollywood, chose to step back. One by one, she turned down major roles and dramatically shrank her workload to almost nothing. For the first time in her life, her priority wasn't the next Oscar or the next paycheck. It was simply being there for her daughter. Even as she embraced motherhood, her longing for another child opened a door to years of quiet, private grief. She and Greg tried again and again for another baby, through IVF. The process was exhausting, both in her body and her heart. One failed cycle after another, and miscarriages that broke them both. They finally made the painful decision to simply stop. Of those losses clung to her for years, a wound that refused to close. Then, in 2003, life handed her something completely unexpected. At a refugee council event, she met a quiet 16-year-old boy from Rwanda named Tindiebwa Agaba. He wasn't simply an orphan. He was a former child soldier who had somehow survived one of humanity's darkest chapters, the bloody aftermath of the Rwandan genocide. He had lost everything. Emma later described the very moment she first saw him. There was something in his quiet dignity and his searching, intelligent eyes, the way he carried himself. After everything he had himself after everything he had survived, stopped her completely in her tracks. She couldn't look away. I looked at him, she said, and I just knew. Somehow it felt like Tindy was already part of our family. As a simple conversation in broken English quietly grew into something far deeper. Emma and Greg made a decision. They invited Tindy to spend Christmas with them and little Gaia. For a boy who'd never known family, that meant everything. Suddenly, he found himself at a table, overflowing with warmth, laughter, and a tenderness he had never once felt in his entire life. After the following months, the bond only deepened. Tindy began visiting more often and staying a little longer each time, till one quiet day it became clear to absolutely everyone in that house. This once broken boy had finally truly found his home at last, and there was no formal legal adoption at first, no paperwork. Yet Tindyebwa Agaba quietly became their son in every way that truly mattered. Emma and Greg brought him to London, helped him learn English, funded his education, and gave him the stability he'd always been denied. And from the very first day, little Gaia welcomed him with completely open arms. The bond between this brother and sister grew effortlessly. Conversations. It grew naturally and beautifully, without force. Emma has often spoken with deep affection about how seamlessly the three of them came together, describes their family simply as blended and beautiful. And she has always stayed fiercely, almost defensively, protective of Tindy's quiet world. She rarely speaks about him in detail, but whenever she does, her voice fills with a tenderness almost impossible to miss. Towndrians, he is one of the kindest, most thoughtful young men I have ever known, she once said softly of him. He has taught me so much about resilience, about forgiveness, and about what truly matters in this life. Tindy grew into a tall, soft-spoken, and deeply intelligent young man. He went on to study at the University of Exeter, additional scholarships. He later earned British citizenship and devoted much of his life to humanitarian work, giving back everything he possibly could. He poured himself into helping children who had suffered the same nightmares he once knew, and, in recent years, he found love and married. He began building a family of his own, all while staying close to Emma and Greg. Those who know them speak of something rare. The bond between Emma and Tindy has only grown deeper through all the years. He still calls her Mum with genuine, unguarded affection, and she speaks of him with the very same pride and fierce protectiveness she shows her biological daughter Gaia. For Emma, this was never charity. Being in Tindy was never a rescue mission or a noble act. It was simply love, the quiet kind that asks for nothing in return. Dalians. I wasn't on a mission to save anyone, she said. I was on a mission to truly connect with someone. Tindy and I found each other exactly this way. At exactly this time, we simply fit. She had been the brilliant actress, the betrayed wife. She had been the woman who ached for another for a child, but met heartbreak again and again. And finally, she became the mother who chose to love. She chose to love a child the world had quietly overlooked. By choosing love over ambition, presence over publicity, and family over fame, Emma did something remarkable. She didn't just survive her darkest chapters. She quietly redefined what a truly meaningful life could actually look like. Scholars. Even while building this private, loving family, Emma kept delivering powerful performances whenever she chose to return to the screen. In 2013, she delivered one of the most acclaimed performances of her later career, playing the author P.L. Travers in Saving Mr. Banks, portrayed the difficult, emotionally walled-off creator of Mary Poppins. Into that role, she poured a complicated, aching mix of feelings. There was rigidity, raw vulnerability, and a deep, hidden pain buried beneath it all. Critics praised the performance almost universally. She was not nominated for an Oscar, a snub that ignited fierce debate among critics and devoted fans alike. Then, in 2017, she swept back into blockbuster territory with Beauty and the Beast, voicing the warm-hearted Mrs. Potts. It was the lavish live-action remake, and the film soared past $1 billion worldwide. It proved something powerful about her. In her late 50s, Emma could still command a massive global audience while pouring real warmth and depth into a beloved character. In 2018, she received one of Britain's highest honors of all when she was made a dame by Queen Elizabeth II. It was an official recognition of everything she had become, a true cultural icon of her nation. And still, she wasn't finished. Now, in her 60s, Emma kept challenging herself and her audience. In 2021, she played the icy, glamorous Baroness in Cruella. It was deliciously cruel, the ruthless rival at the dark heart of that story. Then, in 2022, she gave a brave, nuanced performance in Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. It was a film that explored female desire, aging, and intimacy, with rare honesty and tenderness. At an age when most actresses vanish from the screen entirely. Emma was still shattering boundaries and rewriting the rules. She was redefining what a leading woman could truly be on screen. In her mid-60s, Emma Thompson lives quietly between three homes: London, Scotland, and Venice, drifting between the places she loves most. It's only when a role truly moves her, writes whenever inspiration strikes, and stays fiercely devoted to her family above all else. Then perhaps her greatest legacy isn't the unforgettable characters she gave the world. Perhaps it's the quiet, courageous way she built her family. Family never defined by blood, only by love, by choice, and by one wide-open heart that refused to close. From a girl raised among literature and loss, to an Oscar-winning actress, to a mother who opened her door to a stranger. Lost boy had once wandered the streets of Kampala. Emma Thompson's whole life stands as a testament to resilience, compassion, and unexpected grace. It reminds us of the beautiful, surprising ways real families are formed. So, what do you think of Emma Thompson's extraordinary journey? From dazzling early success and private heartbreak to the beautiful blended family she built with Tindy and Gaia. It's remarkable. Dear, do you believe an act of love like this matters more than any golden award she has ever won? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story of chosen family moved you, please subscribe. Hit that like button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. As always, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.